Buenas Micronesia. I'm Johnny Rosario.
And I'm Troy Torres.
And it is October 1st, Tuesday, on this lovely island of Guam at 11:30 p.m.
Happy new fiscal year, 2020 to everyone.
Physical year.
It is a great day for the government of Guam.
It is your favorite holiday month, Halloween.
My favorite?
Yeah, because you say it's the devil children.
I hate Halloween. The shutters go up, the doors closed, everything. Like, it's. I'm not a Halloween person.
Guys, if you can, we have a YouTube page and it's Kandit News Group, and then also our website at www.kanditnews.com.
Well, we'll guess it was a pretty full day of. I want to say funny, but I don't want people who are very sensitive to be upset. Oh, what the hell? It was funny news in the criminal justice system today. But before we get to that, we have a few other stories. So let's just start with the good stuff.
Congressman Michael Nicholas invites the people of Guam, especially veterans, to join him in a town hall gathering this Friday at Government House. Members of House Veterans Affairs Committee, including its chairman, Congressman Mark Takano, will join him to answer questions and have conversation with them. The town hall will start at 5:30 p.m. and end at 7 p.m. this Friday, October 4, 2019, at the official residence of the governor in Agana Heights. Seating will be first come, first serve. Local businessman, former police officer, and decorated combat veteran John Ananich will moderate the town hall as the masters of ceremonies. This is Mr. St. Nicholas's first time to host a congressional delegation, also known as CODEL, to Guam. Previous CODELs have not been an issue focus as this. Mr. St. Nicholas has made veterans issue a priority of his tenure in office. According to the release from the congressman's office, Mr. Ananich was a police officer of the Guam Police Department from 2005 to 2017, a valedictorian of his police cycle. He was a member of the Guam Army National Guard from 2006 to 2014, earning the rank of sergeant and recognized as Soldier of the Cycle honor grad. Mr. Ananich was deployed to Afghanistan in 2008 with the 1st of the 294th Infantry Regiment in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. He conducted over 180 combat missions to include combat patrols and security convoys, and was personally involved in 3 IED-related incidents, 2 indirect and 1 direct. Ananich received numerous campaign medals to include Combat Infantry Badge, CIB, while deployed. He is a veteran of foreign war and proud civilian soldier. Doors open at 5 p.m. and seating and participation is based on first come, first serve basis.
So we got our invitation from Congressman Mike St. Nicholas's office.
I actually have some questions for that day because there's some people that can't be there.
Okay.
So if we can write the question, it might be just...
people who are veterans or some people who are very interested.
Yes. They asked Kandit because they knew that we were going to go there. If we can, I think it's 4 questions.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I haven't been to Government House in a while.
Well, let's go. And it's just about our time.
Yeah,
it's not in the morning.
We got our invitation from the congressman, not from the governor.
Of course.
It's not like she lives there.
Well,
anyway.
maybe this is the beginning of something great, right? She's allowing him to have it at the government house. So hopefully she's,
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding.
So the minimum wage bill passed the Guam legislature today. I saw that briefly. Before it passed, it received a nod of approval from Senator Regine Biscoli, who sent a news release out earlier today, and this is what the news release says. Senator Regine Bisco-Lee continues to support a proposal to raise Guam's minimum wage to $9.25 an hour in 2 annual 50-cent increments. The sentiments of the community are a mixed bag, according to the release, but the two-winning Democrat lawmaker's stance is driven by supportive data. She says, I hear the concerns of the business owners, but in fact, we hear these same concerns every time the minimum wage increases. The plain truth is, despite well-intentioned and understandable objections, the actual impacts are never as bad as the predictions from those who stand in opposition. Information available about current wages also shows many jobs assumed to be low-paying are already earning above today's wage floor and the increased rate proposed by the bill before us. That's what Senator Regine Bisco-Lee said. The release continues on by stating, increasing the rate to $9.25 an hour only affects 7% of the island's workforce. This means contrary to assertions that raising the minimum wage represents a major hit to most companies' bottom lines, many businesses, especially those with a diverse employee base, will only use marginal increases to personnel costs. Local economy experts agree. The University of Guam, in research led by economist Dr. Roseanne Jones, showed that following the island's last increase of the minimum wage, 1, most businesses did not reduce employee hours. 2, businesses increased investments in employee training and in new revenue streams. And 3/4 of businesses did not reduce their number of employees on staff. Additionally, economist Joe Bradley stressed his own research and testimony on the measure, which showed the most consistent results of decades of data concerning minimum wage increases are that 1, the impact of price inflation linked to minimum wage increases is quite small and most often statistically insignificant. 2, contrary to the conventional wisdom, unemployment rates go down. And 3, there is no link found in Bradley's review of more than 30 years of data between the local minimum wage rate and prices, payroll employment, or the unemployment rate. Average wages for jobs traditionally assumed to be paid minimum wage are already higher than the proposed $9.25 an hour rate. According to statistics, I feel like Eddie Calvo. According to statistics compiled by Guam's Department of Labor, these jobs include packagers, housekeeping workers, security guards, food preparation and serving related occupation, restaurant and fast food cooks, bartenders, janitors, tour guides, cashiers, retail salespersons, receptionists, and hotel desk clerks. According to Senator Lee, focusing only on whether minimum wage brings a positive or negative economic change is like thinking only your diet determines whether you... I feel like she wrote this freaking line in the press release for me. It's like thinking only your diet determines whether you stay healthy. You know what? She's one of those people I would trip if I see her, like if no one's looking and I see her in a hallway because she's so freaking skinny. You know? I just secretly in my head want to trip skinny people all the time. And she's making an analogy regarding skinny people. No business and no family lives in a vacuum, the senator said. Guam Democrats have enacted or are pursuing measures that increase government tax incentives to businesses, raise benefits and protections to employees, extend successful public-private partnerships, create more skilled labor training opportunities, build up the portfolio of higher education offerings, and plant the seeds of new industry. Our island's economy is helped by all these policies in total. And yes, that includes raising the minimum wage to help our poorest workers make ends meet. You know, she really did have me until that last paragraph where she was talking about all the great things that they're doing for the island's economy. That's just a bunch of BS, Cello. I'm just...
You know, all those positions, that's more than 77% of the island.
Dude, okay, so that's basically the service and retail industries that
Yes.
you're talking about. And most of them work here in Tumon.
Yes.
And we see them, you know, we talked about this, how the kinds of cars you see through Tumon, going through Tumon, aren't necessarily all the Lexuses and the BMWs. These are people getting dropped to work, they're driving their beat-up cars or whatever because they make minimum wage. Mm-hmm. And they have families. And when you look at these people, they're not the really young people, or sometimes there's old people.
Yes.
Manamku who are making minimum wage, and so the increase to the minimum wage, though I believe it's not enough, at least the legislature has made a start here. I have to agree with with almost everything that's in this release, except for that last part, and except for the skinny analogy, and I want to trip her for it. But, oh, you're skinny. You're skinny. Chella, I'll trip you.
I am not skinny.
This no meth diet is only working for one of us. But we carry on.
I eat everything, Cello.
That's what makes me more upset.
I think it's just in my old age.
So
I'll be 40.
Our other business partner, Carlos, took us to dinner tonight. And this is not. It was not a nice thing. Okay?
Troy only ate a gyoza.
He doesn't. Carlos does not treat for dinner to be out of the kindness of his heart. It is a fat people gay competition. And so I only ordered a gyoza, and that.
And Troy's boyfriend says, "Babe, order. It's a treat." He's like, "That's not a treat. It's a trick."
So anyway, thanks, Carlos. Back to the minimum wage, though. Back to the minimum wage. You're right. Most of those, 7%. That's a ridiculous thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know where that must be one of those things where you parse data so that you can come up with the outcome that you want to word or whatever. But you're right. Most of the jobs, and maybe it's because a lot of times the wage is $9.30, or I'm sorry, $8.30 an hour.
But maybe the people opposing the minimum wage is not even the hotel people, the people that run that. I think most of them start off there and they get increments because of I really feel like most of them, not all of them, treat their employees very well.
Yeah.
They care about them. So I think maybe the pushback is from what is that place we don't like? The Guam Commerce or the...
Oh, the Guam Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah,
that is where most of the pushback comes from. To be fair, there are small businesses that pay their employees minimum wage, and it's because they live on the margins.
Yes.
Or they sometimes, because of like the tax increase, they can't afford it at all. And I would imagine
or
that they're the ones
I know
hurt.
a lot of small businesses that, yes, they pay their workers minimum wage, but they have benefits, all kinds of benefits. The worker gets to use a car, the worker, they give back.
So one of the things Speaker B.J. Cruz was trying to do when, I don't know if it was his last term in office or the term before that, was have a broader conversation about, instead of raising the minimum wage, why don't we require benefits? And I believe in Senator Dennis Rodriguez was having that conversation regarding, universal health coverage was one of them. So a lot of times it's not necessarily the wage, but it's the benefits that workers need to support their families.
Right.
So.
And then Guam really has if you're under food stamps and Medicaid and you're working, even just that 25-cent raise screws them up because they'll end up losing $600 worth of food for just a $50 raise at work.
Yeah, it's called a perverse incentive. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of that has to do, though, with how proactive the people over at Public Health are, like at the Division of Public Welfare and the Division of... and
I believe I believe it was Obama that passed the law that because before they counted what was in your savings account, and now they don't count that
because it was an incentive or disincentive to save.
Right.
Yeah, which is ridiculous,
yeah.
Right? Let's just move on to our crime stories because I think that's what everyone's waiting for. I don't have the bomb ass crime stories tonight, so we'll just start with the boring one. Gregory Reese, 39, sent his ex-girlfriend messages threatening her life. In the early morning hours of September 9, 2019, Mr. Reese stood outside the hotel where she was staying and demanded her room number via message, telling her he would break down her door and kill her, according to court documents. She went to the police fearing for her life. Police officers were unable to locate him at the time. She showed the police several messages he sent to her phone. These messages from Mr. Reese include, quote, "I want to see you die," quote, "I'm going to hurt you," and quote, "I'll kill you now." His victim told police she feels he is capable of carrying out these threats and that he has been physically abusive with her in the past. She said she also has seen him with a gun. Sometime between September 9 and September 30, Mr. Reese was in jail for a parole violation. Police found out he would be released September 30, so they waited and took him into custody once released. Prosecutor Alyssa Draper Dehart, in her declaration of probable cause, accuses Mr. Reese of harassment as a misdemeanor. Now, normally this would be like the highlight criminal justice story of the day. But
Wait, I have a question. You know, when I was going over those magistrates today, family violence is just a misdemeanor?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. How come it's not a felony?
Yeah.
Because it involves assault, right? I don't know. Maybe
really
maybe they
weird.
make it higher, like when.
No, is it like is it first degree, second degree, third degree? You know what I mean?
Maybe like when they do superseding indictments or something, or no, maybe in the indictment. I'm sorry, because this is just this is just the accusation. So maybe when they do the charge through the indictment or whatever, they go for something higher. I don't know. We should probably check into that.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
should.
yeah. I was wondering the same thing. It just seemed kind of like this kind of. When I was looking at this, I was like, "That's it, harassment." Like it's just like a. Sounds like it was a little more than that. I don't know. Maybe they don't have enough evidence. I have no idea. Well, no, they have text messages. Mm-hmm. So, like, threatening a person's life, isn't that a crime on its own or something?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, anyway, this is well.
And well, at least they waited. I really enjoyed the part where they waited for parole to release him, and then they picked him up right there at the gate.
Like he had 2
So
seconds
the guy
of
was,
freedom.
the guy's like, oh, they're letting me go. And then right when he gets out there, they're like, oh, you're going right back in. It's like
And they have to do the whole processing thing again too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Take you to Agana.
Yes,
Then
yes.
to Manilao, then back to Agana or whatever. I have experience with that.
Probably did this round, shook everybody's hand.
no, we were talking about that at lunch today, remember? Like, they released me and now I'm running like, oh, yeah.
Hi, sister. Okay, everyone wants to hear the next story, so let's go for it, Chalu.
A 35-year-old woman offered the police who arrested her sex and money to release her following her arrest for trashing a hotel room at the Hilton Guam Resort and Spa. Dion Estella asked police officers if they wanted to, quote, fuck her when they arrived outside her hotel room yesterday around 6:02 a.m. Officers found several G4S security guards there who were responding to a noise complaint from the hotel. She was yelling at officers that they weren't going to, quote, take her and that she smoked kek. The officers took her. While taking her handcuffs off at the hotel, at the Tumuning Precinct Command, Miss Estella reached for the officer's groin, saying, quote, fuck me, come on, and that she would ruin his marriage. Thanks, Troy. The following description is provided in Prosecutor Jeremy Kemper's declaration of probable cause. Officers made a check of the hotel room and observed multiple hotel room chairs on the ground in disarray, a broken piece of metal from the balcony door lying on the ground, empty vials of acrylic paint on the ground, a kitchen mirror that had paint and marker scribbles on it, scattered food remains on the ground, furniture flipped upside down, a blowtorch on the kitchen counter, several carpet burns on the carpet, an assault rifle style BB gun on the ground, and writing on the window in marker that read, quote, insane in the membrane, end quote. Officers also observed a small plastic baggie on the floor under the kitchen sink, which had white residue that appeared to be methamphetamine, along with another small bag with green seeds, suspected to be marijuana. A glass pipe was also found with suspected methamphetamine residue. Testing for the suspected meth is pending. The hotel room was registered to as Kicker, but the registered guest turned out to be the defendant, along with Ariel Macapacao. The Hilton staff estimate the damages to the room to be in excess of $500. Mr. Kemper is accusing Miss Estella of one count of giving a bribe as a third-degree felony and one count of criminal mischief as a misdemeanor. Where is the meth charge?
I think they had enough with all of this.
Wait, they're missing charges here.
Don't you think this poor girl's had enough?
Huh? She did that to herself.
Oh, she did a lot to herself and to the Hilton window. Insane and
But I've seen that picture 1,000 times.
Which which one? The
People
no filter
riding-
picture or
no,
the
no. People riding on mirrors,
riding on a wall, then
Yes.
you become the legislature's legal counsel.
I got that.
This island is unfreaking believable sometimes. I've been trying to log into my Facebook so I can see her comments the past 5 minutes. I can't because of Miss Estella. And damn, man, you got the really good criminal justice story of the year. You even had a guy named Ariel Macapagal.
Where did they charge him for the meth, maybe?
I don't know. But the room was under her alias as Kicker.
Oh, we should have put his booger picture up.
Whose booger picture?
That Ariel guy. He had a...
Oh, he has a booger picture?
Yeah, like he was picking his nose.
I was too busy with Estella that I didn't even look that way. I didn't even care to look him up. Oh my
That
God.
was funny.
Oh my God. Back to crime stories, and now here's a boring one in comparison. Jathan Tetao, 23, tried to flee from the police yesterday and ran the car he was driving into someone's house. The chase began when Mr. Tetao crossed the center lane and into oncoming traffic. Officers attempted to pull him over when he fled. After ramming the house, Mr. Tetao got out of the car and fled on foot. The police officers just ran faster than he did. He told the police he has never possessed a driver's license. He also did not have insurance. No insurance policy for the car he was driving has been active since 2017. This isn't the first time Mr. Tetao has caused injuries on the road. On July 27 this year, police responded to a two-car collision in Tumuning. According to a witness, Mr. Tetao disobeyed a stoplight and the car he was driving collided with another car. Mr. Tetao's passengers, two females, could not be interviewed because of the extent of their injuries. They were transported to Guam Regional Medical City. He fled the scene of the crime. That vehicle also did not have insurance. Prosecutor Jeremy Kemper, in his declaration of probable cause, accuses Mr. Tetao of 2 counts of leaving the scene of an accident as third-degree felonies, 1 count of eluding a police officer as a misdemeanor, and 2 counts of driving with no vehicular insurance as violations. I've got nothing to say because the Estella rules the night.
Joseph Bennett Meno Macias, 29, showed up to his grandma's house on September 29, drunk and trying to start a fight with his cousin. According to prosecutor Brendan Joseph's declaration of probable cause against Mr. Macias. Mr. Macias punched his cousin in the face, according to the cousin. The cousin then pushed Mr. Macias out the door. Mr. Macias then punched the door glass panel, cracking it before striking and damaging the rear passenger door of his cousin's car. Mr. Joseph accuses Mr. Macias of criminal mischief as a third-degree felony, criminal mischief as a misdemeanor, and family violence as a misdemeanor.
There, misdemeanor again, family violence. Mm-hmm. I wonder if that is family violence only a
Oh,
misdemeanor
someone said if we're family violence and the person chokes you, then it's a felony.
Only choke?
Yeah.
I'm gonna assume that things even greater than choking, like
What?
if you're shot.
Oh yeah, that of course. But choking,
But like punching,
I think
like
that's
punching your wife,
just-
that's not a felony.
I think that's assault. That should be a felony.
Oh, but it's its own charge. Okay,
Yes.
I see. Let's see what everyone else is saying. So Marvin Francisco says, "Hi Tosh." Sally Pinkine gives a big heart to us. Rose Cartwright says, "Good morning, Guam." Sabine Chargaloff says, "Buenas." Marvin says, "Half a day, everyone." Anthony Chaco, "Buenas" and "half a day, everyone." Alan and Jennifer Jackson say, "Half a days and buenas, Kandit staff and crew." Thank you, half a day. Joyce Castro Paez says Hafaday to all. John Salas says Hafaday Guam from Texas. Carl Blas says Hafaday from California. Vincent James Cruz says hello, good evening, good morning to all. Irene Alcantara says hi everyone. Our Chelu points out that we also have a YouTube page, www.youtube.com, and actually the quality of the whatever the feed, the video is a lot better on YouTube, and you can cast it to your big screen. Dora Marie Fegiger and Jeffrey Ojeda say good evening. Fran Rivera says buenas. Irene Alcantara says hi Troy, Johnny, and Eric. Len and Britt Ariola say good evening. Destiny Farnham says good evening as well. Kate Pelicani says Hafaday from San Diego. Joe Balhaja says Hafaday from Million Kandit. Sabine Chargaloff is laughing. Gina says, I miss your Governor Calvo impersonations. You should do it. So we've been planning to do a debate between Governor Lilian Guerrero and Governor Eddie Calvo. We're still planning it out. We're a little booked. Lynn Tidinko says, Hafaday, Johnny, Rosario, Troy, and Eric. Dar Pablo says, buenas. May Seguenza says, Hafaday, Johnny. Joe Balahaja, it's the Green Hulk. Sabine Charloff is laughing. John Salas says, LOL, in her mugshot, she looks Pochetta. Pochetta, pictures don't lie. Oh my god. Monica Tavares says, buenas and Hafaday. Gary Chanel says, this is the best story ever. It really is, Gary. It really is. Ass kicker. I'm going to go to the Hilton. I'm going to check in as Derek Dallas.
I'll be Debbie.
Oh, man.
Debbie Dallas.
John Salas says, on it to the break of dawn, LOL, earn it, then burn it. Carl Floss says, only on Guam. I love you guys, man. Bernadette Stern-Meno says, hi, Troy. Okay. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, our juicier stories. Well, that's not true. That Estella one is the juiciest one of the decade. Mm-hmm. But we do have more in-depth stories that we'll bring you when we come back from our break on to Gobyetnu.
I find no issue with it because, I just got back from the state auditors conference and my jaw dropped because the average salary right now that all state auditors are paying is $50,000. I asked this question, I said, what? Straight out of college, no experience, $50,000. Most of their management team are upwards of $100,000. And
But once that $50,000 salary is
I have
straight
no
up,
qualms
wait,
with
let's-
paying that. I think it's worth it.
the additional bonus on top of the increase that you're now getting because you managed to get through the legislature are concurrence that we're going to adopt the Kerry study. And for the office with the 10 employees that you have or whatever number you have, you need 60,000 for the certification or pay, or is that's in the event somebody else gets
that's already funded. That's already funded. That's already in our, that's, if you turn to the schedule, we're talking 60,264 is the certification pay for 1, 2, 3, 6 individuals.
Okay. I have nothing further. We stand in recess until.
Mr. Speaker, if I just may say, you and I both are very passionate. And I'll miss this exchange. Thank you.
I will need an additional $70,000 just to pay for the certification pay for those on my staff that are qualified. It wasn't in my budget request because I didn't ask for it. But if this legislature is going to leave it in the budget, then I will have to comply and provide them with their certification adjustment, and that would cost the office an additional $70,000. So I just point that out. But I can't tell you how wonderful the 5 Auditor 3s that stepped up to take over the management team of the office has been, and how smoothly it has run since then. They've taken over, and I feel so bad that they can't get one. We can't reclassify 3 of them, 4 of them. I mean, because everything, all promotions and increments were suspended during the fiscal year. So I can't do any reclassifications and give them increments as minuscule as it is by comparison. But it is the Office of Public Accountability, and we have to live within the law, and we will live within the law. And if it is provided to us, we'll provide it to them. If it's not, then we'll have to tell them that it's not going to be provided.
Horace Grove was the man whom a decade ago had this crazy dream to build another hospital, then turned that vision into the Guam Regional Medical City. No one cared at first. Most everyone thought it was a distant fantasy. The business community couldn't see, but he did. And that visionary thinker and workhorse was in charge of Guam Memorial Hospital's development strategy until Governor Lulian Guerrero let him go this year. GMH has been on the precipice of system failure in almost every way imaginable. For the past 3 years, it has lacked the fiscal wherewithal to pay its employees. That monumental failure belonging to 2 legislatures mired in politics and credit mongering. The island's only public civilian hospital provides emergency care, intensive care, pediatrics care, maternity and delivery of babies, and little else. It can provide services that are sure to help make the hospital enough money to pay for its function, but it lacks the facilities, equipment, and strategic changes needed to start and sustain those services. When Mr. Skro first envisioned a new civilian hospital for Guam, GMH was unaccredited. It is no stroke of irony that former Governor Eddie Calvo hired him to lead its strategic development when GMH lost its accreditation a couple years ago. He worked alongside Benita Manglonia, the financial guru who pulled off the impossible and earned the rebasing of Medicare rates for GMH, among other significant achievements. The new rates were rebased this past January, made retroactive to fiscal year 2014, and mean millions more in hospital revenue each year. She basically saved GMH from financial ruin. But Ms. Manglonia's efforts alone are heroic only to this day and age. It's just a matter of time before GMH outdates its function and existence. It needs to modernize in a way where its outpatient services can pay for the rest of its operation. These services need to be a reflection of the people's basest medical needs against the most prevalent threats to our health now and through the foreseeable future: heart disease, cancer, diabetes. That was the hospital Mr. Skro envisioned over a decade ago that eventually became GRMC. The new hospital, though it has its flaws and had a long bout of growing pains, provides money-making services that has kept families together instead of farming patients off island for care. Most importantly, the new hospital has saved lives, where the difference hung in the balance of emergency care closer to the population base or critical attention to a complication that couldn't wait for a medical evacuation to an off-island center of care. Within a year of opening, GRMC gained accreditation and maintains it to this day. It's now a decade later. Of the two civilian hospitals standing, only the one Mr. Skro envisioned and helped to model still holds accreditation. It is arguably more financially viable than the public hospital, which receives some public subsidies at the least. And while GRMC was supposed to be the answer to the growing demand for medical care on island and for the region, the population is getting sicker faster. We've outpaced both hospitals' capacity. This market, Mr. Gross surmised as early as 2014, has been poised for the opening of one, maybe two more hospitals. Mr. Skro began a think group, much like the Guam Hospital Development Foundation he began a decade ago, that led to GRMC, involving veterans. He found financial solutions to build a hospital that would serve the veterans community and the abortion of a joke that is government-sponsored veterans care. He then laid the groundwork for talks on another type of specialty hospital, perhaps for the care of women and children, he thought. Both ideas he put on hold when Mr. Calvo called him a couple years ago to help GMH and the hospital modernization program Mr. Calvo was trying desperately to push through the Guam legislature. The need for another hospital or for specialty hospitals is part of an overall vision of quality medical care that includes the continual existence of GMH. That's why Mr. Skro was sent to GMH, to modernize it, to carry out a plan for modernization that will turn it into a centers for excellence for cardiac, cancer, and diabetic care, with a state-of-the-art system of medical technology that leads in research and attracts doctors from an international community. That vision is nowhere in sight these days. Shortly into her administration, Ms. Leon Guerrero let Mr. Skro go. Perhaps for all her talk about healthcare on this island, she couldn't see what a dreamer saw. And she certainly has shown that she can't do what a doer did. Your thoughts? That's the what do you call it, of disapproval in our mega haga? Yeah. So two people now. I believe Pete Skro was let go in the beginning, like he had a contract or something, and it expired, and it wasn't renewed. And he was the guy who was leading strategic development for GMH, the whole modernization program. And I don't even know if Governor Leon Guerrero is sticking by either the Calvo modernization program or the Rodriguez modernization program, both of which are similar. The Rodriguez one has a universal healthcare component to it. So it's not just GMH, it's also like the public health system and stuff. But she hasn't said anything about moving forward with any of those plans, even though they're both, by and large, good plans and they're viable. They just need the political will to push them forward. So Pete Skro was that guy. Benita Manglonia was the lady who's been able to keep GMH afloat because of the TEFRA rebasing. The two people who probably made the largest contributions to healthcare in the past couple of decades now no longer work at GMH.
Wow.
You know? Then there's that. Our next in the series, so this is part of a series. The first was about Benita Maglonia. The second, of course, this one about Pete Scrow. And the third is going to be about Dr. Kuzue Shimabukuro, the doctor who recently won her CSC case. So we'll probably bring that to you tomorrow. Now, the next story we didn't write out, and it's because we got it late tonight, and it's a letter that the governor sent to John Fernandez. Let me just open it because I didn't prepare ahead of time. Oh, I'm sorry. It's in my email. It's right here. Do I get this?
Incense? What's the word?
Incensed. I am incensed.
Dear Superintendent Fernandez, I am saddened that the months of cooperative work towards addressing the shared use of Building E of the Tiden campus did not result in a lease between my office, the Guam Department of Education, and the Guahan Academy Charter School, GACS. This has been an ongoing conversation that started with the previous administration since early 2018. And I was hopeful that GDOE would agree that the space could be shared with GACS as I had proposed. Unfortunately, that did not happen. I am forced to approve a lease with only GACS. Yes, GACS is a charter school. And yes, GACS has benefited from the government subsidies more so than any other charter school. Even so, my decision is not about choosing GACS over GDOE. It is about the nearly 740 students whose educational livelihood depends on the success of GACS. GACS is poised to become self-sufficient within the next 2 years. It has made significant progress in locating a permanent campus, which will allow it to not rely upon government buildings to operate. Sharing is a vital life skill. It's something we emphasize to our youth at an early age to teach the concepts of compromise and cooperation. There's still time to apply that life lesson in this instance. This is why I have instructed GACS to continue working with GDOE towards a sublease to avoid any interruption to any special education services operating out of Building E. I am certain that an agreement can be worked out if GDOE will actually want that outcome. However, I will understand if GDOE opts to just move its special education auditory and transportation services to another location. Finally, I would encourage that GDOE review its entire inventory of resources. Like it or not, our laws contemplate a government that encourages the success of charter schools. I believe that GDOE can do more to support the compassionate learning environment island-wide. Sharing would be a good start. Sinceramente, Lourdes A. Leon Guerrero.
She just pisses me off on you every single day. And yes, the word of the day is incensed. First of all, this was a completely condescending letter. You're trying to give the superintendent of education a lesson in sharing. You can't even share credit with people who actually deserve the credit.
Oh, she actually said, "Oh, this was an agreement from the previous administration."
She's tripping. I know what this is about. In the charter school law, GACS, and in the T's and lease, GACS was only supposed to be in that place for 3 years, and then they extended because they couldn't get their stuff together and form a business model that would have worked for them so that they could get their own space. You know, the other charter schools, they have their own space. I believe is it the iLearn Academy, the one where they have iPads or whatever.
That's iLearn.
They got their own place. I think it's in Jigo, right? Or is it in Harmon Cliffline?
No, I think they just moved to Harmon Cliffline.
Harmon Cliffline. So, and the other charter schools have been financially viable on their own. Guam Academy Charter School has had to come to the government of Guam, to the legislature for subsidies, for early release of cash, for all of this. They've been completely irresponsible. They want to teach
No,
the
but
kids
they also,
anything.
I believe there was a complaint about being paid or something about money. Someone who was handling money over there. Do you remember that?
Was that the original principal or something?
Yeah.
Oh, Donna Dwiggins.
Yep.
That was Donna Dwiggins, right?
Yep.
Our business partner didn't like her at all. he has a lot to say about her. Anyway, oh, because he used to be in charge of the not the accreditation office. What's that? The certification office. He was the executive director at one time. Anyway, so so the inner politics of this is Judy Wampat, who is the whatever of Guam Academy Charter School, is Governor Lulian Guerrero's like best friend. This is all a favor for Judy Wampat.
Of course.
You know, and,
course.
and to put her friendship ahead of special education services is a new freaking low for this governor. I didn't even see this until we were done with the Pete Scro story tonight. And I opened this up and I was like, what in the world is going on? So I tried to bait John Fernandez, right? Did you see that?
Yeah.
I was like, John, what would you like us to do about this story? And he didn't take the bait. He was like, the letter speaks for itself, and it sure does. It's a very condescending letter. It's like, who do you think you are? Huh? You're not the superintendent. You don't know what's good for education. You hardly even do anything. You don't even release the allotments for education. You didn't even prioritize education in your budget, much less Guam Memorial Hospital. And you're gonna send, of all the things to send the superintendent and board of education a letter on, it's gonna be on an issue that doesn't involve the Department of Education directly. What about you send them a letter about the lack of books in the classrooms? And I almost feel like that's like what is that? One of the things that it becomes a saying or something, like because people say it all the time, but it's a real thing. When I see when I'm trying to help Johnny girl with her math homework, and I'm like, oh, can we see the book so we understand what this is? And she tells me she doesn't have a book. They don't have a math book. Well, let's talk about they don't have iPads in this day and age, or laptops or something, learning resources that they can use to improve their education, or the teachers still have to buy a crap ton of supplies so that their students can learn. Because at least, in the Department of Education, teachers are being granted more autonomy. They're doing things right for the most part at DOE. It's kind of slow, but it's gradually improving, and our governor is just shooting them down. It's retarded, Anyway.
She's like that. The governor.
I didn't even see that. I'll clean that up. You mean go.
That's a lot of shit, bro.
I didn't even see it.
She just did it. She just did it right in front of me. I'm like, oh, fuck, there's more?
I'm so embarrassed. Okay.
Give me a second.
Let's take a 2-minute break so we can clean this shit up. And when we come back, we'll have national and international news. So this just in from CNN. It's a story by Christina Maxaris. I don't know how to say her name. New York City has banned the term illegal alien when used with intent to demean, humiliate, or harass a person, the city said. This is for all you snowflakes out there. The city's new guidelines announced last week also ban discrimination against someone based on their English proficiency and threats to call immigration authorities on someone based on a discriminatory motive. Isn't that just called following the law? When you call immigration to report that someone is illegally in the country, that's just doing your American citizen duty, right? And I can just imagine all the people who use this stuff here. The guidance is for all public accommodations, employment, and housing. The city's Commission on Human Rights said, quote, "We are proud to have worked with the NYC Commission on Human Rights to produce and release this important guidance as we combat the federal government's rhetoric of fear and xenophobic policies that have threatened the health and well-being of immigrant communities," said Bida Mostafi, Commissioner of the Mayor's Office and Immigrant Affairs. The Department of Homeland Security defines alien as any person not a citizen or national of the United States. In a 29-page directive, the commission outlined the ways discrimination can be based on someone's, quote, actual or perceived alienage and citizenship status and national origin, unquote. The commission listed hypothetical examples of violations, including a hotel prohibiting its housekeepers from speaking another language because it would offend guests. This would not fly over well in Guam. A landlord threatens to call U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement if an Indian immigrant family complains in housing court after they find mold and cockroaches in their unit. Wait, a landlord threatens to call you if an... Okay. A store owner tells two people speaking Thai to speak English or go back to your country.
That so happens here on Guam.
Oh, good thing it's almost winter for all the snowflakes. Earlier this month, a New York judge recommended a landlord pays $17,000 after threatening to call immigration authorities on an undocumented tenant. Really? I thought that's what you're supposed to do. Like, isn't...
I don't know what's going on.
New York's a different breed, huh? The city's Commission on Human Rights represented the tenant and filed a complaint on her behalf in January 2018, citing the landlord's discrimination against her. So I get the whole, like, I get upset when I see the whole, like, separation of families thing at the border, but this is completely different. This is like
they're illegally.
They're illegal aliens.
Yeah.
Thank God it's not New York. They're illegal aliens, and they are actually in the city. They're somehow involved in whatever business that there is, whether they're renting.
Because they have to pay rent.
Yeah, or they're at, like, some business or whatever, and they're making a transaction.
Oh, maybe because it's the threat of reporting her to immigration.
Holding it over their head.
Holding it over their heads. Oh, I see. Rather than actually just making the call.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
You ever see that that video that super racist guy played on a bunch of Mexicans in San Diego, where he takes them all in a truck and he says that he has work for them to do on a farm or something like that, and he takes them all in a truck and he drives right up to the immigration office and
What?
it's really funny in a really bad kind of don't laugh at it kind of way, but it's stupid anyway. The president's, according to the judge's written report, some of the texts the landlord said included, quote, "Have my money or I'm calling ISIS that day," period. And, quote,
Yeah, I think it's just a threat.
"I reported you to immigration. Boo, they don't have the landlord to provide them keys. Come directly to you." First of all, if you're going to talk about someone's inability to speak English, you better have some pretty good English yourself. This grammar sucks. And following ICE raids in July across major U.S. cities, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio called for a path to citizenship for millions of undocumented immigrants in the U.S. The president's slogan, Mayor de Blasio said, should be, quote, "Make America hate again," because he's trying to foment division as a political campaign. And speaking of the president, this is in Bloomberg. Bannon decries release of Ukraine transcript impeachment updates. So the House of Representatives is on a path to impeach the president. If he's impeached, that will make him the third president in U.S. history to impeach. And then there was other news that Senator Mitch McConnell, the majority leader in the Senate, said that they really wouldn't have a choice but to take up removal proceedings. And so I think in a situation like that, like the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court comes down to the Senate and actually handles the proceedings of a removal of president from office, I don't think they would have enough votes to remove him from office. But some people say that all this will do is rally the president's base ahead of an election and really just cause him to win re-election. So it has the opposite effect of what the political people want done. But according to this Bloomberg report by Justin Sink, that's a cool name, President Donald Trump unleashed a torrent of tweets over the weekend attacking Democrats and demanding to meet the whistleblower who said the president asked Ukraine's president to dig up political dirt on Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden. The president is portraying himself as the victim, the subject of two partisan witch hunts to oust him, and urging his loyal base to punish his opponents at the polls. See, that's what they're doing. Here are the latest developments. Former White House advisor Steve Bannon said it was a terrible precedent for the White House to make public the records of the telephone call between President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Volodymyr Zelensky. I love that name. Volodymyr Zelensky. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, which is now at the heart of Democratic impeachment efforts. Quote, "You can't have these transcripts and continue to conduct foreign policy," Bannon said during an appearance Monday on the Fox Business Network. Well, of course it was on the Fox Business Network. He said that while he was at the White House, the administration moved to reduce access to records of leader-to-leader phone calls after the Washington Post obtained transcripts of calls between Trump and then Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull and Enrique Peña Nieto,
Because
who
he's
was
asking, the Ukraine president is asking for help with soldiers because he needs help fighting a war there. So before Trump could give him the soldiers, he says, "Well, why don't you do me a favor, though?"
That doesn't sound legal.
And he says, you guys were investigating Biden's son. I want to know what that investigation was. But he did that just so that the world can think that there was an investigation, but there really wasn't an investigation. So it's like he's just making shit up. And now it's going to bite him in his ass.
Well, I don't know, Chelo. Every time people think it's going to, whatever Trump does, he can, I will bet you he can tweet the N-word and somehow get black people to vote for him. I'm just, the guy's amazing. Like his marketing strategy or whatever, like it works for him for some strange reason.
Yeah, and Hillary Clinton did say, he did whatever. It worked. He filed bankruptcy. He came back. He'll do whatever it takes.
Hillary Clinton is a freaking nutcase, man. Isn't she responsible for the death of the ambassador in like Libya or something,
I have no
or
idea.
Syria or something like
know.
that? Anyway, so so this is the new thing against President Trump by the Democrats. That tit for tat with Ukrainian President. Hold on. Volodymyr Zelensky. Volodymyr Zelensky. Volodymyr Zelensky. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. That tit for tat doesn't sound very legal, but I mean, what do I know? I'm just a civilian. This the president who was tweeting corruption all day. There's a whole lot of corruption, I'll tell you. It's what he said throughout Twitter and in his interviews today. Well, so that makes the United States sort of the butt of jokes throughout the world, this whole impeachment ruse and whatever the president did with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. But elsewhere in the world, and this just happened within the last couple of hours, there's breaking news out of Hong Kong. Hong Kong police for the first time this is from the Washington Post in a story by Shibani Matani. Timothy McLaughlin, Casey Quackenbush, and Anna Kam. I didn't see one Chinese name there. Like, that's racism right there. Where's the Chinese name for Hong Kong?
How about Quackenbush?
Quackenbush? That sounds like a Jewish former president or something. Quackenbush. or a Quaker. Hong Kong police for the first time fired live ammunition directly at protesters. This is a big deal, injuring at least one seriously Tuesday in a dramatic escalation against demonstrators as China celebrated the 70th anniversary of Communist Party rule. The live fire brought a new level of violence that shocked a city already worried about police brutality and erosion of freedoms, all unfolding on a sensitive date for China under its leader Xi Jinping. Xi, in a grandiose ceremony in Beijing, spoke of uniting his whole country, an aspiration that appeared to be wholly disconnected with the hundreds of thousands who defied warnings from authorities, the risk of violence, and a transportation shutdown in Hong Kong to protest increasing Chinese control. Authorities in the Chinese city tried to hold muted parallel celebrations with Beijing right after daybreak on Tuesday, but the flag-raising ceremony was under such threat that no one could be outside to watch it. As the fire-red Chinese flag was hoisted, accompanied by the rousing national anthem, officials watched from inside a sprawling convention center. By midday, people were carrying Chinese flags with its stars rearranged into swastikas and ripping celebratory banners from buildings in protests and marches that spread out over more than 5 Hong Kong districts. The demonstrations descended into panic and chaos by sundown as police used huge amounts of tear gas, a water cannon, and brute force to clear away the protesters, some of whom were peaceful while others threw bricks and petrol bombs at them. Marches earlier in the day had featured families, the elderly, and children. According to a pro-democracy lawmaker and a video filmed by the Hong Kong University Students' Union Campus TV, a protester in the Sun Wan neighborhood who was dressed in black, wearing a helmet and respirator and carrying a homemade shield, was shot by a police officer wielding a revolver. The video shows the man swinging a rod at the officer before the officer fired once at close range. The shot sent the protester tumbling backwards over another officer who was already on the ground. Witnesses also saw another protester who appeared to be hit by a live round in his hand in the same neighborhood. Ken Louis, a 21-year-old student at Hong Kong Baptist University and part of the Students' Union editorial board, said he heard a loud bang and ran toward it. He saw a man surrounded by police whose hand was bleeding after it was hit by a bullet. People were shouting at the police, asking why they had fired at the protesters, Louis said. Local media outlets reported that the police used live ammunition in several parts of the city, all of them in the Kowloon and New Territories areas. A spokeswoman for the police said an officer shot an attacker who was posing a huge safety threat in order to protect the officer himself and his colleagues. The spokeswoman identified the injured man as an 18-year-old and said he was shot in the left side of his chest. A group of Hong Kong police officers speaking privately over the WhatsApp messaging service had already begun discussing how to protect and support the officer who opened fire and urged one another not to share his photo, according to a police officer who was part of the chat group. Hong Kong, well, so much for that idea. Hong Kong's hospital authorities said at least 51 people were injured, including 2 men in critical condition. The authorities said it had no further details on the man who was shot by police. In the high-end central shopping area of Causeway Bay and the nearby bar-filled district of Wan Chai, a large crowd, which included families and the elderly, was allowed to march for hours along the deserted main thoroughfare toward central Hong Kong. Just before sundown on Harcourt Road, the scene of... Okay, anyway, so these people are gangster. Because... So Hong Kong, I mean, it ain't like... We're not talking about a third world country here. We're talking about, like, the democratic beacon of China and one of the world's strongest economies. And normally everything runs with law and order, and like better than it runs in the United States. You would think, like that their crime level is low and all that stuff, and all of a sudden these protests erupt over democracy, over issues that we talk about all the time. Police brutality, police corruption, but I think it all started with the giving away or the signing away of freedoms by the Hong Kong, I don't know what they call it, it's their legislatures, their city council or whatever, that was contemplating giving away or allowing extraditions to mainland China. And so the people of Hong Kong were like, no, don't do that. We have to fight for, local control or whatever, and that China is communist and we're not like that or whatever, And so the fact that things can devolve so quickly in a place like Hong Kong tells the rest of us, imagine how quickly things can devolve here. Mm-hmm. If we're not vigilant about our own democracy and we're not
our own
careful.
rights, our own civil rights.
Exactly. And these people are fighting for it. And some of them got shot today. It's a very sad thing. But they're fighting, and so congratulations to the fighters and those who will continue on and march on for democracy and for what is right. It's an honorable and noble thing.
Well, talking about our rights and our civil rights, like it's in our culture to be afraid of the police.
Yeah.
So like there's this one day, me and my mom, she was here on vacation, and we're driving to my uncle's house, and she says, she's driving, I'm passenger, and I'm smoking a cigarette, and my hand's out the window, and she's like, hey, the police, you're I'm like, the police what? What, Mom? She said, you have to put your hand in because the police. I'm like, why? I ain't scared of no popo. She smacks my face. I'm old already. I have kids. All my kids. She smacks my face like, what the? Yeah, you're not scared of the police. What the fuck are you scared of? But just, it's in our culture to be afraid of the police.
Yeah. A lot of people are. A lot of people don't say anything when some officers do something wrong.
Yeah.
And we've had this discussion with our friends and everything. It's not like every officer is bad, but Guam sure does have its share of bad officers. And thankfully, that investigation by the federal government is ongoing. Because if it weren't for the FBI,
I really wish Kandit would get anonymous messages from at least good police officers to let us know, like how they feel about us searching, us infiltrating the bad parts of them,
and if you could just push us in the direction of the bad ones, like just drop a name or 5, and their phone numbers.
Because the police, they do have a code, to protect each other.
It's a brotherhood, right?
Yeah.
Basically. But I think some of them do understand that, when one of them takes it too far, they don't want that person in their brotherhood anymore.
Well, then they need to throw them out then.
By
Throw them over here.
By news@kanditnews.com or WhatsApp. Now, you have a choice, okay? And this is... Now
our website, you can send real anonymous messages on our website.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
www.kanditnews.com.
Yes, and you just go, I don't know where that is exactly, I'll figure it out, but I received 2 anonymous emails from our website, and it's, no joke, anonymous. I'm not even kidding.
Like, we cannot figure it out.
We can't.
We tried.
Yeah, we cannot. We cannot.
Now, if you want, if you trust us, and you should, because we very much respect our sources, you can WhatsApp us, call us, message us, or whatever at Johnny's at 797-7082, and I'm at 456-4237. The office line is easy. It's either 922 or 979-NEWS. That's 6397. And again, www.kanditnews.com. And pretty soon we're gonna have an
Apple app and
an Android app.
An Android app.
We just got the notice that the Android app has been approved. So we created it, but it has to go through the Play Store and the App Store for their own approvals or whatever. So we got notice that the Android app on the Play Store has been approved and it's in queue to be on the Play Store soon. And the Apple app is a little more complicated, and I don't understand it, so I'm not even going to begin to explain it. But after we're done with this show, I think Prim's going to take a look at what we need to do with that. And we're going to have PayPal.
I think that's going to be... No, we do. It should be on our website.
Is it already on the thing?
Yeah, I already fixed it all.
But
and I put publish.
It's on the website itself?
Yeah, I said publish on the right.
Oh, go to our website and donate to us if you want.
What's that website again?
www.kanditnews.com.
Yeah, and our PayPal address is johnny@kandidnews.com. Yeah.
And we love you. Good night, Guam.
Good night.